much and welcome to every one of you, those physically present here this morning and those who have joined us online. We set out to have an all-physical meeting today, but we had to arrange for some of our colleagues who could not be here to join us online. So we have some participants online. My name is Margaret Mary Tohenu, and I'll be moderating this all-important grand launch of the Ghana Plastic Action Partnership Roadmap. We have set for ourselves very ambitious targets to try to reduce or completely eradicate plastics ending up in our ocean and then in our water bodies in Ghana by 2040. Just before we kickstart the whole event, let's observe these housekeeping rules. For our participants who are online, please rename yourselves so that we will know who is here. So your name and then the name of your organization. And kindly keep yourselves muted until you have the opportunity to speak. If at any point in time you require any assistance, any form of support, any form of help, we have ushers all around us. They are in black uniform. Kindly signal and they will come to you to give you the necessary assistance. We have our washrooms just on my left when you exit through any of the 3 doors right opposite me. You can make yourselves comfortable if you need to go there. We are strictly going to observe all the protocols for COVID-19. So our masks are supposed to be on throughout the sessions. And then let's try to observe the social distancing. We all want to go back healthy and strong as we came in. So thank you once again for coming. And may I have the agenda so we go through. Whilst we get the Secretariat to put the agenda up, I would like to recognize the presence of very important dignitaries in our midst today. I would like to recognize the Minister of Environment, Science and Technology, Dr. Kweku Efriye, who is currently not with us, but is represented by Mrs. Cynthia Dapa, the Chief Director of the Ministry of MESTI. Please, let's see you by wave of hand if you are here. Madam. We also have in our midst the Deputy Minister of Fisheries and Aquaculture, Honorable Mr. Moses Enim. You are most welcome, sir. We have the British High Commissioner. Let's see you by wave of hand. Welcome, madam. We have the Norwegian Ambassador to Ghana here. And then we have the German Ambassador to Ghana as well. Okay, maybe he's still on the way coming. I would also like to acknowledge the presence of the Managing Director of Nestle Ghana Limited, Mr. Georgios Badaru. You're welcome, sir. We have here in our midst our development partners. We have private sector, we have civil society, we have NGOs, we have the members of the steering board committee, we have the technical committee of the Ghana NPAP here present, and we also have KPMG, consultants who worked on the action roadmap for the Ghana NPAP. You are all mostly welcome. So for our agenda today, we will have a welcome message by Christine Hughes, who is the Executive Director of the Global Plastic Action Partnership. And then we will have an appreciation message given by the Program Manager of the Ghana NPAP Secretariat, Ms. Heather Trotzman. And then we'll have a number of solidarity messages from the ministries that have supported the work of the Ghana NPAP and are in themselves members of the steering board of the Ghana NPAP. Then we'll have the keynote address, and then we will have the co-chair of the technical committee giving us an overview of the Ghana NPAP and what the Ghana NPAP has been able to achieve in the past 2 years since its setup. We will then have the highlights of today's event, which will be the unveiling of the action roadmap of the Ghana NPAP. This will be done, after which we will have goodwill messages also from RAP and the global board of the global partnership. And then KPMG will come in to take us through the key findings when they were putting together the action roadmap. We'll have some brief time to have Q&A sessions, and then we will move into our panel discussion. On this note, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of all our panelists present here this morning. Thank you for coming, and thank you for supporting a worthy cause. And then we'll have our closing remarks, and then we will all have some group photographs and then depart. You will see on your tables there are these paper cardboards. If you want to have the agenda for today's meeting, you just need to scan the QR code, and then you will have the agenda. And then also the other QR code gives you access to access today's event. So without wasting much time, I would like to call to the podium. We will have on screen the welcome message by the Executive Director of the Global Partnership, Christine Hughes.
Good morning and akwaba to you all. What a milestone this is. Although I regret that I cannot be there with you today, I am delighted to deliver the opening remarks on behalf of the Global Plastic Action Partnership and the World Economic Forum virtually here from Geneva. Each year, 11 million tons of plastic waste enters the environment. In this year alone, researchers estimate that the production and incineration of plastic will pump more than 850 million tons of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. By 2050, these emissions could rise to 2.8 billion tons. In Ghana, we are seeing plastic leakage into water bodies projected to grow by 190% between 2020 and 2040. But plastic pollution is not just limited to climate change, nor just the oceans or the environment. It has a dire impact on the lives of the people in the communities with limited or no waste management system. Plastic waste pollution affects diverse groups of women and men differently in terms of the opportunities, risks, exposures, and health impacts. Transitioning to a circular economy is an inclusive way, an essential and successful sustainable approach to preventing plastic pollution. Together, we must look to transition to circularity, and this calls for swift action and strong leadership, and that is why we are here today. GPAP is thrilled to be a part of the journey with our Ghanaian private sector and civil society partners in launching the National Action Roadmap. This will pave the way for Ghana's journey towards circularity in eradicating plastic pollution in the marine environment and other water bodies by 2040. Locally, it will bolster Ghana's efforts to conserve marine health and biodiversity, protect fisheries and community livelihoods, and build a more sustainable and inclusive future for all. This approach will systematically address existing inequalities in the plastics value chain and directly benefit the individuals and communities involved. Regionally, it sends a powerful message on the importance of leadership to address the plastic waste challenge. While it must be highlighted, this is the first roadmap of its kind in ECOWAS and in Africa. The roadmap presents clear, multi-stakeholder and inclusive steps for government, industry, civil society, and academia to jointly deliver Ghana's ambitious goals through actions that include reduction in avoidable plastic use, material innovation, waste recovery, and management. I commend Minister Kwaku for his leadership in driving forward this agenda And thank you also to all of our partners here today for your strategic guidance and commitment in tackling the plastic pollution crisis. Remember, this is not mutually exclusive, and this is one that GPAP stands ready to support you in your green recovery journey as we all move towards a circular, plastic waste-free and inclusive society. Thank you again for inviting me to deliver these opening remarks, and I wish you all the best as the conference continues today and launching the National Plastic Action Roadmap.
Good morning. Honorable Dr. Kweku Afriyie, Minister of Environment, Science, Technology, and Innovation. Honorable Cecilia Dapa, Minister of Sanitation and Water Resources. Honorable Moses Anim, Deputy Minister of Fisheries and Aquaculture Development and Member of Parliament. Members of the Diplomatic Corps, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I am pleased to join you today for the launch of the National Action Roadmap to eradicate plastic waste pollution in Ghana by 2040. They say the ocean is but a multitude of tiny drops of water. Similarly, the National Plastic Action Partnership, or the NPAP, is but the commitment of its many partners to work together to solve the plastic pollution crises. This National Action Roadmap has been made possible by the leadership and collective oversight of the Ghana NPAP Steering Board and Technical Committee, comprising 21 institutions and over 50 leaders across the plastic value chain, and representing the public, private, civil society, and international development sectors. 4 expert panels were convened, representing an additional 50 institutions, 150 leading experts, and including all of Ghana's top universities and research institutions. The Steering Board, Technical Committee, and expert panels supported 8 rounds of peer review over the past 18 months to ensure that this action roadmap is based upon the best available data and industry insights, that it is practical and achievable. On behalf of the Ghana NPAP Secretariat, we are immensely grateful for your contributions. Now that we have a clear plan for action, the NPAP Secretariat reaffirms its support to provide an inclusive, non-biased, and transparent platform for multi-stakeholder collaboration to translate commitments into action and to mobilize financing at scale to enable the transition to a circular economy. Please let us know how we can support your institution to be party to the groundswell and make your contribution to a future Ghana free of plastic waste pollution with impeccable beaches and a pristine environment. Thank you all for your individual and collective commitment to this cause. I hope that you leave this event inspired to action, and I thank you for coming. Have an impactful day.
Thank you. This indeed is a proud moment for us as partners. And from what Christine said, this is the first of its kind. This roadmap for plastic, to prevent plastic waste pollution is the first of its kind in West Africa and indeed in Africa. So thank you all very much for the diverse ways that you contributed to make this roadmap a reality. So we continue with our program, and we will have the Deputy Minister of Fisheries, Honorable Moses Anim, come to give a solidarity message. Please, let's welcome him with a round of applause.
Honorable colleague, ministers, heads of institutions present, members from the Diplomatic Corps, invited guests present, friends from the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is a great honor to deliver this solidarity message on behalf of the Honorable Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture Development, Mrs. Mavis Hawa-Kumsin, at this very important event. I extend to you all greetings from the Honorable Minister, who has not been able to join us today due to other prior state engagements. I would like to also, on behalf of the Honorable Minister, thank the Global Plastic Action Partnership and the Ghana National Plastic Action Partnership for this event to launch the National Plastic Action Roadmap to eradicate plastic waste pollution. The development of the roadmap and its launch today is a significant milestone that will pave the way for Ghana's progress towards eradicating plastic pollution in the marine environment and other water bodies by 2040. It is also expected to support Ghana's effort to conserve marine health and biodiversity, protect fisheries and community livelihoods, and build a more sustainable future for all. The National Plastic Action Roadmap also presents a clear steps for government, industry, civil society, and academia to jointly work together towards eradicating plastic pollution in Ghana through a priority actions including reduction in avoidable plastic use, as well as waste recovery and management. I am well informed that the National Plastic Action Roadmap is the first of its kind in Africa, which is expected to serve as a guide for other African countries in developing their plans. The fisheries sector plays a major role in sustaining the livelihoods of 3 million of the population that directly and indirectly depends on it as fishermen, fish processors, traders, boat owners, boat builders, and other auxiliary jobs. The sector also provides about 60% of the animal protein requirement of Ghanaians and contributes significantly to the gross domestic product. The lagoons, estuaries, the delta ecosystems provide suitable environment for shellfish and fish breeding, as well as feeding, roosting, and resting sites for local and migratory birds and marine turtles. The coast supports mangroves, the beaches, cliffs, lagoons, wildlife, cultural and historical sites, and coastal landscape also provide an immense potential for tourism development. However, the sustainable management of this important sector, particularly the marine subsector, is faced with a number of challenges, including ocean pollution from plastic waste. Plastic pollution is a widespread problem affecting the marine environment and marine species. Plastic waste threatens the health of the ocean and marine species and a major contributor to climate change. According to the IUCN.org, the most visible impacts of plastic debris on marine species are the injection, suffocation, and entanglement of hundreds of marine species. Marine wildlife such as seabirds, whales, fish, and turtles mistake plastic waste for food. Most then die of starvation as their stomachs become filled with plastic. The phenomenon is a key contributor to the dwindling marine fish stocks. Ladies and gentlemen, there have been several reports from fishermen and key stakeholders relating to the destruction of fishing gears, especially fishing nets, by plastic waste in the sea. Eradicating plastic pollution in Ghana is, therefore, of paramount concern to the fisheries sector, as failure to take measures to address the phenomenon will greatly affect fishing and its related activities, as well as the livelihoods of the estimated 3 million people directly and indirectly engaged in the sector. On behalf of the Honorable Minister and the Ministry, I wish to express appreciation to all the stakeholders who contributed to the development of this insightful roadmap that will pave the way for Ghana's progress towards eradicating plastic pollution in the marine environment and other water bodies by 2040, as well as support efforts to conserve marine health and biodiversity, protect fisheries and community livelihoods, and build a more sustainable future for all. The Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture Development acknowledges the contribution of the Global Plastic Action Partnership in setting up the Ghana National Plastic Action Partnership. Through your support, the Ghana National Plastic Action Partnership for the past 2 years has provided a platform for multi-stakeholder collaboration and discussion on the urgent need for action to address plastic pollution in Ghana. The ministry also appreciates leadership of the Ghana NPAP and the Secretariat for the sterling contribution to advance the work of the platform up to this day. The ministry remains committed to play an active role on the Ghana NPAP platform and the implementation of the roadmap. I wish to call on all stakeholders to critically reflect on the recommendations in the roadmap, identify areas of support, and actively participate in the implementation of this important roadmap in order to achieve the common objective of eradicating plastic waste pollution in Ghana. Thank you for your attention, and I wish you all fruitful deliberations. Thank you.
Let's give it up again for the Honorable Deputy Minister. We do not want to endanger our marine species, and that is why we will need all to be on board to ensure that we implement to the latter the recommendations of the action roadmap. I would like to acknowledge the presence of the representative of the National House of Chiefs, Dasibre Kweku Ewusi VII. Nana, you are welcome. Next on the agenda is the keynote address. And to deliver this, we have the Chief Director of the Ministry of Mercy, who is representing the Honorable Minister of Mercy and also the Chair of the Ghana Plastic Action Partnership. With a round of applause, let's welcome her to deliver the keynote address.
Your Excellencies, Ambassadors and High Commissioners here present, Honorable Deputy Minister, and representatives of government herein represented, Nana Kweku Ewusi VII, representative of the National House of Chiefs, representatives from development agencies, representatives from our private sector, our friends from the media, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Dr. Kweku Afriye, the Sector Minister, I wish to deliver this keynote address on the premise that plastics are necessary evils, which involvement in our lives is very complex, and therefore requires all stakeholders on board to help address the negative effects of plastics on our national development. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, those of you participating virtually, according to the statements or the keynote address to be delivered, we would require that we all come on board to make sure that we change our belief and attitude towards the use of plastics. Let me again also extend a warm welcome to all those who are globally participating in today's program. The launch of the National Plastic Action Policy in 2019 by His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, put a bright spotlight on Ghana, and it placed our country among the global leaders in the fight against the menace of plastics. And I wish to take this opportunity first to reaffirm Ghana's commitment to this partnership with the World Economic Forum, and also to let the world know what the partnership and the National Plastic Action Partnership have meant to us in the fight against this plastic menace since its launch to date. Indeed, in selecting Ghana as the first country in Africa and second in the world under the Global Plastics Action Partnership Initiative, and the World Economic Forum acted on its vision to partner with countries to champion a shift towards a new plastics economy by addressing the root cause of plastic pollution from production to consumption and reuse. Through the Ghana National Plastic Action Partnership, the NPAP, the Global Plastic Action Partnership, the GPAP, these two have brought together and made Ghana closer together with other countries and international organizations, businesses, government agencies, as well as civil society organizations, in sharing a very common platform and vision in adopting circular economy to drive the fight against plastic pollution and marine litter. As indicated in the preamble, plastics are a necessary evil, and they are very much involved in our lives. For this reason, Ghana's quest for the solution is premised on circular economy. Indeed, GPAP has added value to NPAP by leveraging on its global network of partners to direct resources for the implementation of the National Plastic Action Partnership programs. Working with NPAP to employ their proven three-pillar delivery strategy, including the development of the action roadmaps and pursuing strategies to attract financing, investments, and public-private partnership within the plastic value chain in Ghana. We of the Ministry of Environment, Science, Technology, and Innovation believe that the results have been positively overwhelming and very well received by the international community, our development partners, and all those who care about the environment and its biodiversity. The NPAP Action Roadmap identifies and maps multiple actor stakeholders within the plastic value chain to specific recommendations as drivers of those actions. The action roadmap makes clear that collaborating across the value chain is critical to enable a system change necessary to establish a circular economy. Indeed, to a large extent, NPAP has succeeded in delivering on its mandate due to the active participation, buy-in, ownership, and support of the global and national stakeholders. The launch today of the Action Roadmap is a key milestone in the execution of NPAP's mandate, and I'm very delighted that we have gathered here and also joining online to mark this exciting milestone. When we began the journey in October 2019, NPAP established the following as the main expected outcomes. 1, an established framework for circular economy for plastics in Ghana. 2, a functioning EPR scheme that is appropriate for Ghana. 3, an effective waste management infrastructure and related logistics. And 4, collaborations and partnership for technology transfer. 5, sustained education, awareness creation, and community engagement towards attitudinal change. Integration between the formal and informal sector, and recognition of Ghana as a regional model for the management of plastics. These were our tasks. How far have we come? Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I am very delighted to highlight a few accomplishments related to these 7 expected outcomes. The project establishing a circular economy framework for the plastics sector in Ghana, funded by the GEF, is one that is being founded by the Global Environment Facility to support Ghana in establishing a circular economy framework to manage the plastics value chain in the country. This project concept was approved by the Global Environment Facility in 1st December 2019. Its primary objective is to strengthen the national capacity of Ghana to transit to a circular economy with particular focus on reducing plastic leakages into the country's oceans and waterways, facilitating sustainable plastics management by operationalizing the National Plastics Action Partnership and the National Plastics Management Policy, and reducing the release of unintentional persistent organic pollutants into our environment. And the Ministry of Fisheries is very much concerned about this, and likewise all of us. A key component of this project aims to build capacity among relevant stakeholders in the plastic value chain and to facilitate the transition from the linear economy to the circular economy for plastics within this project component. At least 4 pilot projects have been planned to demonstrate how this transition could be accomplished within the plastic-related industries. The project preparatory grants phase of the project was completed and submitted to GEF in June 2021, and after an active engagement with GEF since then, we expect the final approval of the project, therefore, by the end of the year, and the disbursement to begin early 2022. The second achievement is the EPR schemes for Ghana. Currently, the Ghana Recycling Initiative by Private Enterprise, which is a voluntary association of plastics packaging brands, has taken initiative to develop a voluntary EPR scheme as the starting point for a model that eventually works for the country. GRIPE has been working very closely with the Ministry of Environment, Science, Technology, and Innovation, and we believe that this approach will ensure buy-in from and collaborating with the key stakeholders, so we are working together to ensure its successful implementation. We are very fortunate to have the support of Germany and Netherlands, two of our development partners, who are providing technical assistance for us to implement such a scheme. So far, a toolbox that provides all that one needs to know about EPR schemes have been provided, and a series of webinars have been organized to share the knowledge among the key stakeholders. The next step is to develop a detailed work plan and a budget to pilot the GRIPE-led voluntary EPR scheme. We will start with this voluntary scheme and with some selected brand packaging companies and a limited geographical coverage, with the aim of making it a mandatory scheme that covers the whole country and all producers in the very near future. Technology transfer. To take advantage of the opportunity for transiting to a circular economy, NPAP and MESTI are in high-level discussions with a major development partner on the establishment of a proposed Ghana Circular Economy Center. The aim of the center is to assist Ghana-based organizations and individuals, including early-stage entrepreneurs, to develop and deploy innovative circular economic technology solutions and businesses. The center will be based in an established tertiary institution in Ghana and will collaborate with government, academia, and industry in research and development, innovations, and capacity building for actors within the plastic value chain. During the UNIDO-led development of the GET7 project, that is establishing a circular economy framework for the plastic sector in Ghana, multiple stakeholders were engaged and consulted. This project will build upon those engagements to ensure active participation of this range of our notable key stakeholders. To be prepared for the just transition to a circular economy and create an effective enabling environment, the public, private, non-governmental, and informal sectors need to develop the requisite skills and expertise in circular economy, including business management, policy advice, engineering, as well as research and development. The Ghana Circular Economy Center will be the focal point in the country for developing this technical and managerial know-how and help build the capacity required for this transition. The Ministry of Environment, Science, Technology, and Innovation is also undertaking another project involving the application of technology and innovation to manage the plastic value chain. SAP is a German technology company that provides technologies that help improve lives across the global society. SAP is a key contributor in crucial areas such as sustainability, circular economy, healthcare, agriculture, education, access to technology, and public safety. SAP frequently collaborates with industry partners to contribute to the Goal 12 of the UN Sustainable Development Goals, that is responsible consumption and production, which we find plastics as part of Through the GPAP initiative, MESTI and SAP have agreed to address the problem of plastic pollution and marine litter by using the SAP Rural Sourcing Management System and the SAP Ariba Network platform to support waste collector communities and the local plastic recycling ecosystem. The technology has been built on 5 years of experience supporting farmers in rural Africa to grow more crops, and the system can connect the plastics ecosystem to a global marketplace for recycled plastics and other materials. Through this pilot project, SAP will provide the actors with the tools, insights, and solutions to eliminate waste and maximize resource productivity. Integration in the informal sector. NPAP's goal is to foster the creation of gender-inclusive circular plastics economy that will be built upon a zero-waste approach to resource use and management. In order to accomplish this goal, Global Affairs Canada has provided full support by engaging the services of a full-time consultant to assist the Ghana NPAP to integrate a gender inclusion approaches to key deliverables planned for 2020. These include 3 critical analytical pieces as per NPAP's 2020 work plan. Preparing a baseline data analysis, including solution scenarios modeling, is one of them. Integrating gender and inclusivity into the development of the NPAP Action Roadmap development and all consultations related to it, and in developing the financing roadmap and the NPAP investment strategy are the things that are currently going on into the integration of the informal sector. Ghana as a regional model for the management of plastics. Indeed, Ghana has already assumed a leadership role in the Africa region by our involvement as co-conveners of the Ministerial Conference on Plastic Pollution and Marine Litter, and the subsequent support we are providing in seeking a mandate at UNIA 5.2 to establish an intergovernmental negotiating committee for the global agreement on plastics. We are also very actively involved in the activities of the Africa Circular Economy Alliance to develop a regional framework for circular economy in Africa. We recognize the fact that we cannot do this alone in Ghana because, especially for marine litter, it comes across from other countries and likewise from us to other countries. I would like to conclude by stating the obvious, that Ghana has benefited tremendously from our partnership with the World Economic Forum and the creation of Ghana's NPAP. The launch of the Action Roadmap today is indeed one giant milestone in the NPAP work plan. I am therefore, and this means the Minister for Environment, Science, Technology, and Innovation, calling on all of us, myself included, and including members of the NPAP Steering Board, members of the NPAP Technical Committee, our development partners, Nananom, and all those who are working with us to recognize the important role each and every one play in Ghana's journey to manage plastic pollution and marine litter. Again, on the premise that plastics are necessary evils, very complex in our day-to-day activities and national development, and requires all hands on deck. It is Ghana's responsibility as a country to keep our environment clean, to sustain biodiversity for, if nothing at all, for your selfish gain of living the next day. Create business opportunities for actors within the plastic value chain and to thereby raise the living standards of our people. Most importantly, we want to make sure that in doing so, we are inclusive, not leaving anyone behind. All hands on deck. We expect that through the NPAP initiative, there will be a total, complete 360 shift in the mindset and behavior of each and every one of us here, and by extension to all persons, not just in Ghana, but globally, towards the disposal of waste plastics and to help address the situation. Ultimately, the success of our partnership with GPAP will depend on the buy-in and support of all our partners and all our citizenry. On this note, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Nananom, friends of the media, our virtual participants, it is my honor representing the Honorable Minister and the greatest pleasure to declare NPAP Action Roadmap duly launched. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Cecilia Bediakon, Cynthia Bediakon, for delivering the keynote address on behalf of the Minister of Mercy. Indeed, it has to be all hands on deck. It is not one man's business or one sector's business. We all will need to contribute in one way or the other to ensure that this roadmap with its recommendations are implemented, and in the long run, it helping to rid our cities and our communities of plastic waste, and then also ensure that we eradicate plastics from our water bodies. Next, let's give it up again, please, for the keynote address, please. We will now have the overview of the Ghana NPAP, and to deliver this will be Mr. Oliver Boakye, the Special Advisor to the Minister of Mercy and Chair of the Technical Committee of the Ghana NPAP. Mr. Boakye, your audience.
Good morning. With your kind permission, I wish to take this mask off so that you can hear me a little better. I hope I'm far enough away from you so you don't get contaminated. Before I do the presentation, I wanted to emphasize the apology that Sector Minister has rendered. In fact, he was away in the constituency, and because of the importance of this, he managed to arrive in Accra yesterday and was very, very keen in being with us this morning. Unfortunately, the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has asked him to attend the ECOWAS ministerial conference on his behalf, and that is the main reason that he couldn't join us today, and he renders his unqualified apologies. So what is the National Plastics Action Partnership? The National Plastics Action Partnership, these are partnerships that are the driving forces behind the impact that the Global Plastic Action Partnership aims to achieve and replicate around the world. NPAPs are locally led, and they are multi-stakeholder platforms that enable collaboration between national governments and other vital partners to turn commitments to plastic waste and pollution reduction into action. In other words, when the World Economic Forum, through GPAP, selects a country to partner with, they want to make sure that that country has done the necessary homework, has developed their own policies, and only require support in translating those policies into actual activities on the ground. They bring together diverse and inclusive communities of change makers, business leaders, policy makers, academics, and international and grassroots organizations to collectively tackle plastic pollution. At the launch of NPAP in October of 2019, our president emphasized that with this partnership, Ghana is taking a historic step towards a historic step forward in our environmental stewardship, our sustainable growth, and our vision for the future. And I'm quoting His Excellency, the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, during the launch in October of 2019. Indeed, GPAP adds value to all the NPAPs by, one, leveraging on its global network of partners to direct resources for the implementation of the National Plastic Action Partnership. They add value by working with NPAP to employ their proven three-pillar delivery strategy, among them being the development of the action roadmap, which we are launching today. And then thirdly, they add value by pursuing strategies to attract financing, investments, and public-private partnerships within the plastics value chain. And we indeed are benefiting from all of these in Ghana. So at the start of the Ghana NPAP, we developed a framework under which we are going to pursue the initiatives that have been outlined in the National Plastics Management Policy. Now, it looks like a very, very complex framework, but today I'm just going to focus on two elements within that framework, which have been the drivers of the numerous accomplishments that within 2 years Ghana's NPAP has managed to achieve. And the first one is the governance framework, which you see on the extreme right in the middle section of the framework. That's the governance. And then I'll also talk a little bit about the outcomes, some of which have already been mentioned by the Chief Director in the keynote address. Indeed, it's been 2 years of steady progress. So, why am I dwelling on the governance framework or the governance structure of NPAP? To tell you the truth, it is this governance structure that we've put together that has really enabled us to reach so far in just 2 years. The first element within the governance structure is the NPAP steering board. By design, The NPAP steering board is chaired by the Minister of Environment, Science, Technology, and Innovation, and it is supported by the private sector. And when we initiated the first steering board, we also wanted to make sure that there is active participation of the female gender in everything that we were doing. And so at the time, the managing director of Nestle, who was a lady, is the one who was appointed by the board to be the co-chair with the minister. Since then, the management of Nestle has changed, and we are very, very delighted to have Mr. George Badaro as the co-chair with the minister. Now, the steering board is really multi-stakeholder in the sense that we have countries represented on the board, and in the initial steering board, we had the UK and Canada, who had been the active sponsors of the setup of GPAP at the global level. And so we found it extremely necessary to include the two countries on the steering board of NPAP. Then we have multinational corporations, some of which are very, very closely related to the use of plastics and even the design and manufacture of plastics. So we have companies like Nestle, Coca-Cola, Dow, Unilever, and others sitting or being represented on the steering board. We also have government ministries and agencies, and in Ghana, the relevant ones are the Ministry of Environment, Science, Technology, and Innovation, of course, and then we have the Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources represented, the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development represented, and then the Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture also represented. Then, because of the importance that financing, the important role that financing plays in what we are trying to do, the Ministry of Finance is also represented. Then we have the local private sector. Here we have those companies who have formed GRIPE, and there are it started with about 8 of them, and now I understand about 11 companies who have joined together to be concerned about how plastics is managed in the country. And so GRIPE is a Ghana Recycling Initiative by the private enterprise, and they are also represented on the board. Then we have the Association of Ghana Industries and the Ghana Plastics Manufacturers Association represented. Then we have NGOs, we have our development partners, and we have, we've gone to the extent of even including representatives of the informal sector also represented. And then, of course, the National House of Chiefs are also represented. So you can see the multi-stakeholder nature of the steering board. And it is indeed this steering board that has enabled Ghana to achieve so much recognition and become a leader in the global community in the fight against plastic pollution and marine litter. It is this steering board that has enabled us to do that. And I want us to take this opportunity to express our gratitude to members of the steering board for their commitment and also enabling us to reach this far in just 2 years. Now, the next thing I want to talk about briefly are the projected outcomes. And the Chief Director did a very good job in outlining the key outcomes that we were seeking to achieve with the NPAP initiative. The first one was establishing a framework for circular economy for plastics in Ghana. In the National Plastics Management Policy, we made a firm commitment to use circular economy as the vehicle for the management of plastics in the country. And for that reason, in order to do it properly, we needed to make sure that we have a very well-structured, well-defined circular economy framework. The second one was to ensure that we have a functioning EPR scheme. Now, if you want a circular economy regime to exist in any environment, what you are saying is that you don't ever want waste to be created. That means you have to have the infrastructure, the logistics, and your procedures to ensure that nothing turns into waste. And so, in order to do that, we need, very, very good funding sources. And that is where EPR schemes come in. And so, without that, there's nothing we are doing that would succeed. And that is why we needed an EPR scheme. And of course, we also needed to have an effective waste management infrastructure and the related logistics. The fourth is the collaboration and partnership for technology transfer. Now, these days, the manual ways of trying to just collect and thinking that you are going to be active, successful, they don't wash anymore. And so, at every stage along the value chain, we needed to make sure that we were employing state-of-the-art technology to help us do the work that we are doing. And then we wanted to make sure that we have a sustained education, awareness creation, and community engagement, because everybody has a role to play. And in a society like Ghana, where the management of plastics has not been part of us for a very long time, we needed to make sure that we have a strategy in place to ensure that everybody is on board in what we are trying to do. Now, in Ghana, about 70% of the actors within the value chain of plastics are in the informal sector. It's very, very important that we integrate them into the formal sector if any of the things we are doing is going to be successful. So the integration of the informal sector is one of the outcomes that we are seeking to achieve. And then, at the end of the day, we also wanted to make sure that what we are doing, especially after the selection of Ghana by the World Economic Forum, that at the end of the day, Ghana becomes a model that the rest of sister countries in Africa can emulate, and so that we will be doing this thing in unison and making sure that we are successful as a region. So these were the outcomes that we are trying to achieve. And so what have we achieved so far? Basically, I've mentioned the 120-member NPAP community. Apart from the steering board and the technical committee, we have partnerships across board. And at the last count, we had over 120 members who are very actively involved in what we are doing. The three-pillar strategy of GPAP included the development of a baseline for us to know where the leakages of plastics are in this country, where they originate from, how they flow, and where they end up. And so a baseline study was done, and we have successfully done that. And so we have evidence-based report that tells us where plastics are originating from, what quantities, what types, where they flow, where they end up, to help us so that we can also come up with strategies to deal with them. And that is what this roadmap that we are talking about is based on. Then we have also gone a step further to do the development of the roadmap, which we are launching today. That has been approved by our board, and so it's going to be the basis of the actions that we undertake to address the menace of plastics in the country. A task force has been established to look at ways of financing the activities or the recommendations that are outlined in the roadmap. We are very, very sensitive to gender and inclusivity. And as I was mentioned earlier, the Canadian government has actually come up with a way of making sure that we have a consultant on board at every stage of the development of the roadmap and the execution of it. So this is an issue that is of extreme importance to us and our partners, and we are implementing that. We have also come up with social media tools and newsletters that have been launched, and the Secretariat, its capacity has been enhanced by bringing on board more people. So we are doing things a little more efficiently and getting things done. I can go on with so many other things that have been accomplished at the Secretariat level. What we haven't done enough about are the actual activities that have taken place on the ground. We have achieved a few things there, and I want to spend the next slide to talk a little bit about that. Next slide, please. Well, before that, 4 task forces have also been launched, and these have to do with the behavioral change that we are talking about to make sure that there's constant engagement with the communities, and we are providing education and creating awareness. There is a task force that has been established to look at the policy issues associated with the management of plastics. And then there's also a metrics task force that will be launched in the second quarter of 2022. And this is to ensure that we have a metrics framework that defines what it is we are trying to achieve, how we are doing it, and then monitoring to ensure that at every stage we are on target. And then in the second quarter of 2022, we are also going to launch another task force that will deal with innovations and will be very closely associated with the Ghana Circular Economy Center that we are going to establish. Now, the outcomes that we outlined, how far have we come with it? The Circular Economy Framework for Plastics in Ghana, we have received a $7 million funding from the Global Environment Facility to do this. The concept was approved last year, and we have submitted the final documentation for the final approval, which is expected by the end of this year. And disbursements will take place in the first quarter of 2022. Concerning the EPR scheme, we are in the process of working with Germany through GIZ and the Netherlands through the RVO to look at the main components of an EPR scheme, talking about the operator, the register, how finances are gathered, and how they flow to ensure that we have an effective waste management system in the country. And that effort is ongoing. As far as technology transfer is concerned, I've talked about, or the Chief Director talked about, the partnership that MESTI has formed with SAP, the giant software company in Germany, and basically they are working with us to automate the entire process along the value chain to ensure that everybody, including those who are picking plastics, are known, that their interests, their welfare are being taken care of, and that they know who their buyers are, they know how much to sell, what they have collected, and even with an e-commerce platform to ensure that they can exchange invoices, payments, and other things. In other words, we want to automate the whole process so that there's transparency, there's efficiency, and everything along the value chain. Now, the Ghana Circular Economy Center is the breakthrough that will eventually make all these things that we are doing come together. And I don't want to name the organization or the development partner that is working with us, but they have pledged very, very substantial funding for us to establish the Ghana Circular Economy Center in the country. And in that, everything related to research and development, related to innovation, related to entrepreneurial support, related to incubation, and so on. All these things are going to be done within the Ghana Circular Economy Center. And with that, we are going to be able to attract partners from other countries in Africa to come and study what we are doing here and how that can be replicated in their own countries. The integration of the informal sector, because of the support that the Global Affairs of Canada is providing, it has become an integral part of what we are doing. And I don't think there's any need for me to tell you that Ghana has already achieved the goal of becoming a model for the rest of Africa. And we want to work with all of our colleague countries in Africa to ensure that we are playing our role in the management of plastics, in controlling plastic pollution and marine litter. Now, there are a few challenges that we are facing that I would like to bring to your attention, because those are the areas where we haven't done enough, and I want to encourage you as our partners to do whatever you can to support us to address them. And the first one is the waste management infrastructure that we talked about. Now, without that, we are not going to be able to achieve much. And so I want us to look at infrastructure, the logistics, and the service delivery. We believe that when the EPR scheme is done, most of these will be addressed, but we still require support, both technical support and financial support, to be able to build the infrastructure to deliver the services under the EPR scheme. There's also the need for us to continue with the education and awareness creation. And we need the private sector to come on board more forcefully for us to attract the investment and the capacity that our local SMEs require in order to play, for them to play their roles. And so, briefly, this is the outline that I want to share with you about the Ghana National Plastics Action Partnership. And if you have any questions, I'll be very glad to answer them for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Oliver Boache, for taking us through the Ghana Plastic Action Partnership, what we have achieved so far, what is yet to come, and the challenges that we are facing, and calling for support. I think that is very appropriate. We will need all hands on deck to be able to implement what we have planned to do. So we are at a very crucial stage of today's event, where we will witness the signing and the unveiling of the documents that we are all going to be working with. I will take us through exactly how the proceedings are going to look like. So we'll have our two co-chairs join me here at the table, seated here to sign the very first two copies of the Ghana NPAP Action Roadmap. Following that, we will have the reps of the British High Commission, the representative of the Norwegian High Commission, and the German ambassador to Ghana as well as the Honorable Deputy Minister of Fisheries, and then Nana Dasibre Kwebu Ewusi joined them to take the first photograph, memorable photograph that we would keep, just to remind all of us that this action took place today. We launched our action roadmap today, the 6th of December 2021. And then we'll have the members of the steering board here present also join them to take a photograph here at the podium before we allow our global partners to join us online to also give their goodwill messages. So I'll kindly ask Mr. Georgios Badaro to join me up here on stage, and Mrs. Cynthia Bediakon to also join me up here on stage to sign the very first 2 copies of the Ghana NPAP Action Roadmap. Please welcome them with a round of applause. So this is the document that we are all going to be working with. Can we already have the ushers at the corner to help us? So can we have the reps of the British High Commission, reps of the Norwegian High Commission, join us upstage? Nana, please do us the honors. Honorable Minister, please join them. May I have the signed copies? We need to get them up here. And we'll have Mr. Badaro and Mrs. Bediakon hold the copies whilst we take the pictures. Thank you. Now let's have the members of the steering board join them up here. So we have the rep from the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Local Government. Please just walk upstage and join them. Country Director of the Coalition of NGOs in Water and Sanitation, CONIWAS. The Practice Manager of the World Bank Group, please kindly join them up here. Representative of the Head of Development Cooperation of the Canadian High Commission. Representative of the Country Director of UK FCDO, please join them upstage. Country Director for WIGO. Senior Franchise Manager, Equatorial Africa Territories at the Coca-Cola Company, please join them upstage. And then representative of the UNDP. If you are here, kindly join them. Representative of the European Union, if you are here, please join them upstage. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all very much. Thank you all very much. You may kindly take your seats. So now we have the document to work with. It's been launched, it's been signed, and it's available. So there will be copies available for every one of us. Thank you. At the end of the event, so see the ushers as you exit, and you will have your copy to study, to know exactly what is in there, the recommendations made, and how you can support yourself and your institution can support to help with the implementation. So we'll go back to the screens and take some key messages from our partners who could not join us here. May I have a representative of the Waste and Resource Action Programme of the UK government give us his message?
Greetings from a wet and windy UK. I'm David Rogers from WRAP, based here in the UK, the Waste and Resources Action Programme. I'm honoured and delighted to be present at this launch of the National Action Roadmap for the Ghana National Plastics Action Partnership. WRAP supports initiatives all around the world to tackle plastic pollution. Action-focused, multi-stakeholder, public-private collaborations are so powerful in achieving the system change required to address this issue. We know that plastic plays an important part in all our lives, but the production of plastic contributes around 3% of global emissions. And if it's not managed, plastic waste can pollute the land and marine environment for centuries. The Ghana National Roadmap demonstrates Ghana's leadership in addressing the full range of actions that have to be taken between now and 2030 to help ensure that plastic can be used only where it's necessary, and where it is used, that it remains in the economy and not in the environment. Our work around the world has shown how such a circular economy for plastics is possible, and how it can create both environmental and economic benefits. I congratulate the government of Ghana, the co-chairs, the steering board, the World Economic Forum, the NPAP Secretariat, and everybody involved in reaching this point. I really look forward to continuing to support you in your efforts and seeing the progress made as we work towards the 2030 goals. Thank you.
I think their line dropped, but I think the key message has been passed on. He's congratulating all of us for the work we have done and for the success we have chalked in getting this action roadmap underway. Now we will move on to our consultants who helped us to develop the action roadmap. Okay, we have one more of our global partners joining to give us a goodwill message, and I would like to call on Anika.
Perfect, thank you so much. I hope that everyone can hear me. So what a terrific achievement this is. Although we really regret from the Global Plastic Action Partnership that we cannot be with you there today like we had planned, we're so thankful to be part of this and witness this great historical event virtually. So thank you so much to the team and for all of your support for allowing this to happen. So as I mentioned, GPAP is thrilled to be part of this journey in launching the National Action Roadmap. This will really pave the way for Ghana's path towards circularity and eradicating plastic pollution in the marine environment and all other water bodies by 2040. We know and understand that this is really an ambitious event, an ambitious goal, but we really do believe that with clear strategies and clear recommendations that we can make strong steps towards making this happen. So the roadmap really demonstrates strong collaboration between multi-stakeholders from government, industry, civil society, and academia to really jointly deliver this ambitious goal. We really commend the minister's leadership and all of our other stakeholders from private, public, and civil society towards making this amazing and plastic pollution recommendations happen. So once again, thank you so much for allowing us to be part of this event. And on behalf of GPAP, on behalf of all of our global partners, our global partners, including our steering board, our technical committee, and all our other governance groups. Congratulations to everyone at the national level and to all of our partners who are included in this event. And thank you for allowing us to take part in this today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anika, for that message. We will have our consultants who worked on the development of the action roadmap come share with us what their key findings are and how implementation is to go going forward. So I'd like to call on KPMG and the Institute of Environment and Sanitation Studies, the representatives here. We have Mr. Daniel Adote, we have Mr. Ivan Sassare, Professor Chris Gordon, and Dr. Benjamin Ofori to take us through this. You're welcome.
Good morning. I would quickly run us through some of the key findings from the study, from the report that has just been launched. As was mentioned, I have some of the team members present here. I have Professor Chris Gordon from the Institute of Environment and Science and Sanitation Studies, and then Dr. Benjamin Ofori, also part of the team members for this project. Please kindly give them a clap offering for such a wonderful job done. It was quite a very large team. We have a team from India, KPMG India, also part of this assignment. So let's go to the outline for the presentation. I'll just do this within the next 15 minutes. The details are all in the report. I'll look at the introduction, baseline, and state of plastic waste in Ghana, and then I'll look at the scenario modeling. I mean, the basis for this particular report that has been done, and then present some of the recommendations going forward. So next slide. So the objectives are two, essentially. One, to understand the state of plastic and then the future trends in Ghana. And then two is to identify the key stakeholders and detail out specific action plans going forward as to how we deal with the plastic menace in Ghana. So this is based on the NPAP model that has been used in 2 countries. So we've done it for Indonesia and then for Vietnam. So Ghana adapted the same model, plastic flow model, that is from plastic production, consumption, sorting, collection and sorting, recycling, through to disposal, and then the percentage that goes into the water bodies. So Ghana also used the same model. Based on the baseline study, they were able to determine what proportion of plastics are consumed in Ghana, how it goes through the process of collection and sorting, through to disposal, and then what proportion goes into our water bodies. Next slide. So the baseline study used 4 key archetypes. So when you read the report, you get to know archetypes. They are more like geographic characteristics of our country. So it is based on the districts that we have, essentially. So if you look at archetype 1, it is more of the metropolitan assemblies or districts. And these are areas that are highly, densely populated, and also the usage of plastics are quite high. So example, Accra, Kumasi, Takoradi, those are mega cities. And then we have the medium archetypes or the medium cities, and these are municipalities that are joining these metropolitan assemblies. And then you have the third one, which is the rural and small, low-density populated areas, and then the last one, which is the remote. So we had 260 districts, and this was the basis for categorization of plastic generation and flow in the country. Based on the state of plastics as of 2020, about 840,000 tons of plastics are generated annually, so just 0.84 million tons. Out of that, about 40% comes from the medium cities, 21% from the mega, 23% from rural, and then 15% from the remote archetypes. Next slide. Now, based on the flow, on this chart, we see the percentage of plastics that are collected and percentage that is not collected. So based on the model that we used, we estimate that about 49% of plastics are collected through the formal and informal means. So informal means about 14%, dam site recovery is about 18%, and then the formal, that is those that the district assemblies engage formal waste contractors to collect waste, about 17%. To the end result, only 25% thereabouts of plastics that are collected are properly managed. 75% are not properly managed. So just about 10% are recycled, 14% goes into properly managed landfill sites. The rest either goes into an uncontrolled dam site or openly burnt or dumped on land, and then about 9% goes into oceans and then river bodies. Next slide. The Ghana NPAP has adopted 6 impact areas or priority outcomes, which I think Dr. Oliver Boache mentioned some of them. The first one is policy, inform policy, unlock finance, transform behavior, boost innovation, harmonize metrics, and promote inclusivity. And so our analysis identified key challenges across these 6 impact areas. And then our recommendations were also based on these 6 impact areas. So for instance, if you look at policy, we identified that there is a lack of policy on recycling and recyclate use in new packaging and products. So we needed to find an action that will resolve this particular challenge. The weak financial incentive for recyclers is one challenge within the financing priority area. Then behavioral issues, the fact that we think plastics are quite cheap to use and the way we dispose of plastics needs to change. Then innovation, the limited incentives for capital investment in improved technologies. And then how we harmonize metrics. In our study, there were so many data sources and there were differences in some of the studies that have been done. So there is the need to centralize the database that we have to ensure that we have relevant and reliable data for decision making. And then inclusivity, I think Elsie and her team did quite a good job in a study as to how we accommodate gender issues, the marginalized groups in the waste management sector into the whole action roadmap. And so the recommendations also cut across these 6 impact areas. Now quickly, we did scenario modeling. There were essentially 2 models. The first model is what we call the business as usual. And then the second is what we call the system change scenario. Now, the system change scenario is based on a report that has been developed by the Breaking the Plastic Wave, developed by the System IQ, and then the Pew Charitable Trust, which is called the Breaking the Plastic Wave. They identified 8 intervention areas that, when applied concurrently, can help change the flow of plastics in the next 20 years. Ghana, we decided to adopt 5 out of the 8 based on expert consultations. So we did extensive consultations with the steering board, technical committee, and an expert panel discussion. So we adopted 5 of them. Next. Now, for the 5 that were adopted, we have reduce and substitute. Second is to redesign plastics for recycling. The third is to increase plastic waste collection. The 4th is to increase current recycling capacity. And the last one is to build and expand safe disposal sites. You could see the way it's been ordered in order of priority. Based on our expert panel discussions, the most preferred is to deal with plastics at the production stage, how we can reduce or substitute plastics. And then the least preferred is the disposal of plastics, which most of the experts think that should be the last option for Ghana. The model looked at business as usual, as I mentioned. That is, if we do not introduce any interventions and the current or the status quo remains, what will be the effect of plastics in the next 20 years? Currently, we are doing 840,000 tons a year. if nothing changes and we maintain the current scenario, by 2040, we will be producing about 2.4 million tons of plastics per year. And out of that, 9% will go into the oceans and then river bodies. So you could see from the first diagram that 23% of the 2.4 million will be disposed of into uncontrolled dam sites, and that is quite significant. So from about 80,000 tons that will be going into the oceans, by 2040, we could have in excess of 220,000 tons of plastics going into our river bodies and oceans. In the system change scenario, we did two other scenarios. So that is the realistic scenario and then the ambitious scenario. The realistic scenario is assuming that if we're able to increase our current collection rate from 49% to 85% through a series of interventions, we will be able to reduce plastic leakage from 9% in 2020 to about 3% by 2040. So, which means that we could reduce it by over 2/3, so from 80,000 to less than 30,000 tons of plastics leaking into our river bodies and in oceans. In the ambitious scenario, we are assuming that we will be able to collect 100% of plastics that we generate. We'll be able to recycle quite a significant part of it, and then we will achieve zero leakage by 2040. That is the ambitious scenario in this model. Next slide. So this presents us some of the numbers. So in the realistic scenario, we are assuming that 85% of the plastics we generate will be collected. Now, we will be able to reduce plastic leakage by 84% if we adopt the realistic scenario. And we have done some preliminary estimate of cost that will be involved in achieving this specific scenario. That's the realistic and then the ambitious scenarios. Let me summarize here by saying that if we're able to increase collection from 49 to 85%, and then increase recycling capacity from the current 10% to about 32%, then we will be able to achieve the 3% leakage into our oceans. In the ambitious scenario, we are collecting 100% of plastics that we generate. We recycle about 45% of that, and then we're able to dispose whatever that remains in properly controlled dam sites, then or properly engineered landfill sites. We will be able to reduce plastic leakage by to near zero. I mean, there will not be any leakage into our water bodies. Next slide. So I mentioned in the business as usual, if we don't do anything and the current state of affairs continues for the next 20 years, more than 200,000 plastics will be leaking into our oceans per annum. However, if we carry out a series of interventions, the actions that have been detailed out in the report, we will be seeing 84% reduction in the quantity of plastics that go into our river bodies and in our oceans. In the ambitious scenario, we will achieve 0% leakage. So these are some numbers that we put together in terms of the cost of investment. And these have been put into plastic and non-plastic. Now, the reason being that you cannot just build a landfill site purposely for plastic waste. You need to look at solid waste in total. So in estimating the cost of investment, capital investment, that is investment into equipment, into landfill sites and all that, we are saying that you need about $3.3 billion to be able to achieve the realistic scenario. That is into capital investment. However, there will be operating expenses, people who need to be paid. So we look at OPEX, that is operating expenditure. Under the realistic scenario, we will need about $5.4 billion of OPEX. So together, we need about $8.4 billion investment from now to 2040. This is cumulative. So from now to 2040, there will be the need to invest about $8.4 billion to be able to achieve the realistic scenario. In the ambitious scenario, we will need about $9.7 billion. That is the $3.3 billion capital investment and then $6.4 billion OPEX to be able to achieve the ambitious scenario. And so that is quite a significant amount of investment required from stakeholders to be able to achieve the objectives of this roadmap. Revenue, we are looking at solely revenue from plastic outputs. We didn't look at any other solid output. So we are looking at revenue from recycling plastics alone. We are saying that in a realistic scenario, there will be a potential revenue of about 4.1 billion from recycling plastics. That is the sale of recyclates. And then in the ambitious scenario, about 6.2 billion in terms of revenue from recycling. Next slide. So I won't bother you with these numbers again. These have been put together in the value chain. So for instance, if we look at the OPEX or the CAPEX of about 3 billion, we have about 170 million going into collection, 320 million going into transfer, sorting about 220 million, recycling about 760 million, and disposal about $1.5 billion going into disposal. So we have been able to segregate the cost along the value chain of plastic waste management. So going to the last slide, we have developed action plans, or the report presents action plans for each of the 5 intervention areas I mentioned: reduce and substitute, redesign, collection, recycling, and safe disposal. I'll present just one example here. A lot of the details are in the report. So if you look at reduce and substitute, we are saying that there will be a stakeholder that will lead this specific action, and there will be stakeholders that will support. And then we have mapped this across the 6 impact areas that I introduced earlier. So example, if you look at the first action, that we are saying that gradually phase out the use of problematic polymer types and product applications that do not have viable recovery and recycling solutions locally. We are saying that the lead, this is a policy issue, so the lead will be government. And then it will be supported by industry, district assemblies, and all that. So we are saying by 2025, this specific action needs to be undertaken. We are assuming 2025 as a short-term period, 2030 as a medium-term period, and then 2040 as a long-term period. So for each of the actions, we've been able to map it across the time horizon, and then the stakeholder that is leading or supporting, and then across the 6 impact areas. So another example, if we pick, say, implement and enforce downstream waste segregation, we believe the district assemblies should be the lead in this by providing bins to households who will be able to segregate waste, because one of the problems with recycling is the fact that we put all solid waste into one bin, and therefore segregating them is a big issue at the recycling stage. It becomes more expensive to recycle the materials at that stage. So district assembly should facilitate the process for bins to be provided to households to separate organic waste from plastic waste. So that has been done for each of the 5 interventions, and then the report is quite detailed as to what specific action needs to be undertaken for each of those intervention areas. The last slide presents a summary of the actions. These are critical actions that need to be undertaken by 2025, by 2030, by 2035, and by 2040. And so, for instance, we are saying that to implement existing policies and laws in gender-sensitive and inclusive manner, by 2025, this action needs to have been undertaken through to 2040. And if you look at the metrics, we are saying that in 2020, we had no reduction in plastic usage. Collection rate, 49%. Recycling rate is about 10%. By 2030, we should be able to reduce the usage of plastic by 16%. Collection will reach 67% if the investments that I mentioned have been made concurrently. Recycling rate will be 19% by 2030. By 2040, we should achieve a reduction in plastic usage by 40%. Collection rate will reach 85%, and then recycling rate will reach 32% by 2040. So essentially, this summarizes all the key actions that need to be undertaken by stakeholders to be able to achieve the objectives outlined in the roadmap. Thank you very much. Would ask for any questions.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Asari. We will allow some few questions. So if you have any burning question for KPMG, we have mics at the center of the room, 2 mics situated. So we give you the opportunity. I saw the first hand up here. So we'll not take too many questions because they will still be around after the program to answer and to interact further with us. And then I'll take one from there. So please, let's hear you.
Good morning. My name is Nadim Ghanem from Uniplast. We're a recycling manufacturing company. When you say to reduce the use of plastic, do you mean reduce the import of virgin polymers, or you mean really reduce, like people will use less bottles and less bags and etc.?
Okay, so we are looking at reduction in two perspectives. So the first one is avoid the use of certain single-use plastics. Okay, so that is the first one. This is an example. And then plastics that are difficult to recycle. You don't know the material compositions and all that. So that is one example. And then the other leg is substitution. So now using compostable material. So instead of using the normal plastic bags that we have, we use maybe paper bag or any other material that is easily, disposed of. So that is the way we are looking at reduction of plastics.
Thank you.
Right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm Solomon from AMA. When Madam Chief Director was giving her keynote address, she made mention of the 7 outcomes. Yes, so my question is on the issue of infrastructure. What did your study recommend for plastic waste management? Mind you, in getting this done, you rightly mentioned that most of the times the plastic waste are contaminated by organic waste, making it very difficult and more cost-effective in recycling. So yes, what are some of the financial engineering that you did to be able to advise the ministry on the investment that should go into plastic waste management? Vis-a-vis, if you are not mindful of organic waste, then they will still segregate all right, but at the end of the day, where are we taking the organics to? So which infrastructure specifically are you envisaging, apart from the normal recycling, the residuals should be taken care of? And if we continue to send the residuals of plastic waste to the dump site, that is what is helping in choking the landfills. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So, rightly so, I know there is a specific action roadmap that is being developed for the financing strategy. So a consultant is looking at how we mobilize funding to be able to achieve these action roadmap. In our analysis, what we did was that we used proxies in terms of cost and revenue from recycling plastics and then collection and sorting. I mean, there were benchmarks that were used to be able to analyze the investment required here. So for instance, a specific example is we are recommending that district assemblies set up transfer stations because some communities are too far away for you to site a recycling plant in there. So where we have transfer stations where people will be incentivized to bring their plastics to those places for them to be collected and brought to recycling centers. And then the second one is to set up recycling. I mean, today, the recycling capacity is about 10%. We are looking at increasing it from 10 to 32% by 2040. In the ambitious scenario, we are looking at 45% of plastics being recycled. It will require setting up recycling plants across strategic locations in Ghana to be able to recycle all these. And then the third one is infrastructure or equipment to be able to collect the waste. It is not enough just to segregate at the household level. It is more important to be able to collect the waste and to send them to appropriate stations for them to be sorted out properly and to be able to recycle them. So we had the cost per unit of investment into, say, trucks for collection, cost per unit for setting up a recycling facility, the cost per unit for developing a properly engineered landfill site. So these are sites that are properly controlled, and therefore there is no possibility of plastic leaking into any water body. So that is the process we were able to estimate these numbers or investments required. But as I mentioned, there is a third leg of this, that is the financing strategy, which is specifically looking at how we mobilize funding to be able to achieve these, to be able to address the challenges that have been identified here. Thank you. I think Prof wants to intervene as well.
Yeah, thank you very much. Let me move away from my people. I'd like to comment on the first question, and then I'll pass the mic on to Dr. Forey, who can add something to the second question. We have a serious problem of packaging redundancy. So when you're talking about reducing plastic, one of the first things that we can do is reduce the amount of plastic packaging. So you buy a ball of kenkey, the individual ball is in a plastic bag. They'll put that in a black plastic bag and put that black plastic bag in another black plastic bag. And if you bought other things, that will go into a fourth plastic bag. So if we can help reduce how we package, especially the single-use plastics, we will make significant impact. Now, the second questioner asked about organic waste. And I think one of the things we have to do in our mindset is to move away from organic waste to organic wealth. Given the nature of our soils, all that organic matter is wealth. The final comment I would like to make is on the issue of microplastics. We see the big plastics and so forth, and we look at the aesthetics of it. But the real issue is when they break down, those that we don't see, those that we ingest, those that the fish ingest, thinking that they are plankton. And we are also working at that at the Institute to try and see how we can at least quantify. But Dr. Forey will talk about the issue of organic wealth.
Yes, thank you, Prof. I've had a chance of talking about this on a number of occasions. Fortunately, in our cities and in our communities, the wet markets are very, very important. So you visit the market and you have fresh foods being sold at specific places. What happens at the end of the day is that the waste that they generate are gathered and mixed up with the entire waste at the marketplace. So that means if you are talking about circular economy, then the responsibility lies much with the local assemblies to make sure that the municipal waste or the market waste that we generate are segregated right at the point of generation, and they are taken to the right place for recycling. So with respect to the organic waste, it means that we need specific sites where we can produce the organic waste into compost for use in, let's say, urban agriculture. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Forey and Prof. One more question? Okay, please take the mic on the other side. Right where the cameras are.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Nati Jokuli, Managing Director of Jakura Ventures. I'm a waste management businessman and a practitioner. Well, in sequencing the activities along the value chain, and then in the policy space, one critical thing I find absent is the emphasis on waste segregation at source, because it is very critical if we want to create a circular economy that would stand the test of economic policies, supply, demand, values, manufacturing, distribution. In the sequencing of events, you always bring segregation at source after collection, after which there's so much intensive contamination, and it increases the price of the end product. I think I would want us to consider seriously bringing segregation at source as the sine qua non necessary, as the fundamental requirement before collection, transportation. If we build transfer stations where we are now going to sort out contaminated materials, we would need to continuously inject finance to keep it going. But if we get the foundation right, we build this resilience right at the beginning. And this will require that there's policy consideration to make segregation at source something which has to be implemented and applied and complied by everybody. Thank you.
Yes, I much agree with you, but that has essentially been captured. That is, if you take the aspects or the role of the actors, you see that the responsibility lies with the local authorities, and they have to be doing that. Already they are doing it, but just that they are not going much into waste segregation, and we are saying that the responsibility lies with them. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry.
I think okay, so for you, the segregation should be the first on the list before collection and then transportation.
Okay, so so what I presented is just on reduce and substitute. I mean, some of the actions that need to be undertaken. So for each of the 5 interventions, there are sequence of activities or actions that need to be undertaken. So it is not that we have put segregation after collection, no. In the sequence or the activities that we have outlined in the report, you see that segregation should be done at source. So we are saying at the household level, there should be bins to be able to segregate waste. So that is what has been mentioned as part of the processes to be able to segregate it. And then if for any means we still have issues with organic waste being combined with plastic, then maybe at the sorting stage, there will be the need to also sort them. But the behavioral change at the household level is critical. And then second, the infrastructure. If people don't have bins to segregate waste, then it is difficult for you to implement it. So that is the prerequisite for your suggestion to be achieved. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, KPMG. And thank you for your presentation. Let's recognize their efforts, please. So we will have, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We'll have the opportunity to have more questions. I see that some people still have questions to ask. KPMG is going to stay with us till the end of the program, and we'll have the opportunity to interact with them. For the sake of time, we will move into the next section of our program, and that is the panel discussion. So I'll quickly introduce our panelists to join me here on stage, and then we'll go through the questions. We hope to do this quickly so that we can round up. So we have heard from Ms. Cynthia Bediako this morning, and we would love to have her back on the stage to support us do justice to the topic that we've put together. And before I invite her here, you all agree with me that the action roadmap identifies and maps multiple actions across the plastic value chain to specific recommendations as drivers of those actions. The roadmap makes clear that collaboration across the value chain is very critical, and I think we've been emphasizing this since the beginning, and all the speakers here have mentioned this. This panel discussion is under the theme, how can we drive implementation of the action roadmap recommendations collectively and inclusively? We do not want to leave anyone behind. So the first person I'll call as I've already said, is Ms. Mrs. Cynthia Bediako, the Chief Director of the Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology. She joined MESTI about 2 years ago after working as the Chief Director of the Office of the Vice President. Prior to that, she worked as the Chief Director of the Office of the Head of Civil Service. She is a career civil servant in the administrative class with over 30 years of administrative experience. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome once again Mrs. Cynthia Bediako. Right after her, I would like to invite Dr. Joseph Sian Ejapong, Jospon Group of Companies. He is the Executive Chairman and member of the Steering Board of the Ghana NPAP. Please take the first one. Yes, please. Doctor, if you are here, kindly join us on stage. Kindly sit right next to Mrs. Bediako. As I said, he is the founder and executive chairman of Jospon Group of Companies. He has been able to bring together and establish Zoom Lion. I'm sure we are all familiar with this company. And he has adopted and utilized simple but modern technological methods of waste management. Today, after a number of years of successes chalked by the Zoom Lion Ghana Limited, he brought forth other waste management companies in the supply chain, thus providing total and integrated waste management solutions nationwide and also in 5 other African countries. The Jospon Group has set up 3 recycling companies, a sewage treatment plant, transfer station, medical treatment facilities, and landfill management, amongst others. Sir, you are most welcome. Now I will call on the stage Mr. Sukrop. Mr. Sukrop is the Deputy Resident Representative of UNDP in Ghana. And before coming to Ghana, starting his assignment in Ghana, he worked in UNDP offices in Bosnia-Herzegovina and Papua New Guinea as a Deputy Resident Representative. He also worked in UNDP Tajikistan as an Assistant Resident Representative and a Program Analyst responsible for energy and the environment. The program portfolio in Tajikistan and Bosnia-Herzegovina were among the biggest of UNDP's Regional Bureau of Europe and CIS. Please, let's welcome Mr. Sukrop on stage. You're most welcome, sir. Right next to Doctor. Now we have the country representative of WIGO. She has 15 years of development experience and a background in designing and delivering adult learning programs. She has worked extensively in facilitating processes, organizing development interventions, gender mainstreaming, monitoring and evaluation, as well as training and capacity building in many levels, right from the informal sector to civil society and to parliament. She is currently the Accra Focal City Coordinator for WIGO, leading organizational development as well as capacity and relationship building, working with membership-based organizations and with other stakeholders. Please, let's welcome Mrs. Dorcas Ansah. Welcome, ma'am. Sorry. The next is Mr. Bwedu Asa. He is the franchise senior manager at Coca-Cola Company, Equatorial Africa Territories. The territories he manages cover 9 markets across West Africa, including Ghana. In his current role, he works with bottling partners across the countries to unlock non-alcoholic ready-to-drink growth opportunities, which involves creating and fulfilling demand across the Coca-Cola Company's portfolio of products. Prior to joining the Coca-Cola Company, he worked as a commercial manager at the Ala Food Limited. Please, let's welcome Mr. Bwedu Asa. The next is Mr. Sanjay. He's a trained environmental manager and a global leader in sustainable development with more than 30 years of applied international experience, including 18 years in Africa and South Asia region. Mr. Sanjay is currently the practice manager based in Washington, D.C. for the environment, natural resources, and blue economy global practice for West and Central Africa, where he manages a large team and the bank's engagement that includes lending and advisory support to promote nature-based solutions, strategy to promote biodiversity and forest conservation, growing blue economy, and making environmental risks across the bank's leading operations. Please help me welcome Mr. Sanjay from the World Bank. So now we have all our panel seated, and we are going to do justice to the theme, looking at bringing everybody on board and ensuring that we have the right resources, we have the rights in terms of people, finance, and all other resources needed to implement actions that we have set for ourselves. So I'll start with Mesty. One of the key accelerators from the action roadmap is the introduction of an EPR scheme in Ghana. Many actors along the value chain have expressed keen appetite for this type of financing solution. I would like to find out from you, Mrs. Bediakon, how the ministry intends to coordinate efforts to realize a workable model for Ghana.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yes, MESTI is the major implementer or the stakeholder when it comes to this particular scheme. The first thing is for anything to thrive, you need a fertile ground for it to thrive. And for that matter, the EPR scheme, as we know, it's in embryonic stage in Ghana. It's quite new. And I'm happy to hear that the key actors are interested. That gives us the grounds. However, MESTI's idea is to expand the discussion and take it from the ballroom to the grounds to make sure that a lot more interested persons are on board. Why are we saying so? The extended program simply requires that the producer contributes to collecting or taking the system back. That involves some amount of payment, some taxes, or collecting from those producers. And you all agree with me that from 2019, when the idea was mooted, the economic environment and everything were different. Where we find ourselves now, we are challenged because of the COVID and many other things that have happened. For government, and you know, MESTI is government, to come out with anything that seeks to take more from individuals requires some caution and doing it systematically. Having said that, from the studies that we are just seeing, it's going to increase or improve on the way MESTI is going to coordinate these efforts. We have tried something similar before, and so MESTI has some kind of experience in terms of the e-waste, where we are collecting some token in plastic and e-waste, in e-waste that we purchase. So we have some idea. All these will hover around regulation and some kind of policy. And that's why I'm saying that our idea now is to expand the discussion, get more people on board, seek their participation and inclusion, but to hear that the key actors are ready gives us the stepping stone to move on. So in all, what we are saying is that some discussions have already started. There's the need for us to go back and look at all that we've done before to make sure that they conform to the current and present situations that we find ourselves. But having the collaboration, the platform that already exists, gives us a leap into knowing that we have friends out there who will support us in doing what we are doing. So from here, you'll be hearing from us. Mercy is going to expand the platform, get more in the discussion state to have more buy-in and support, because we don't have to fail in this direction, and we are all in it for it. So Mercy will continue to dialogue with everybody and make sure that we get a buy-in, and that's what we want to do going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Bediako. I'm happy to hear that, you would expand the base, get more people on board, because at the end of the day, as I said, it is not, just one sector's issue. It is a number of sectors, and everybody needs to play a part, both the formal and informal sector. At the end of the day, we don't want the burden to be just on one sector. It should cut across, and it is only in doing that we'll be able to achieve what we have planned to do. Now I move to you, Dr. Ejapon. The roadmap calls for growth in annual domestic recycling capacity. So we are currently at around 80,000 tons, and we are looking at moving this to 520,000 tons by 2040. Your organization, the Just Pond Group, has been a strong market leader in waste management and recycling in Ghana. Do you agree that having multiple strong players in this space would help in achieving this ambitious goal? Because again, your company may not be everywhere in every corner. I know you are doing a very great job, but how do we get other recyclers on board, other waste managers on board, to ensure that we are able to achieve the objectives we've set for ourselves?
Good morning. Thank you very much for this question. First of all, I think I stand in for ESPA, Environmental Service Providers Association. That's what I was informed. So I don't want to
be
more exposed to my company to be selfish. So I want to bring everybody on board. So I'm standing in for ESPA. I think, first of all, we have to look at demand and supply. The plastic issue, from my opinion, is not a problem. It's the demand and supply. What will we use the recycled product for? That will cause the demand. Because in Europe, if recyclables are being, in Hungary, I just came from there just yesterday, where PETs, they pay for. So you bring a PET plastic, and someone will give you money for that because there's a demand and a usable for it. So if the plastics, and dated 2006, when we did not introduce the tricycle concept, most of the young guys were not interested in waste collection. It was a dirty job. It was not an enticed job. Now today, we have about 5,000 tricycles, whereas these guys go every day, collect plastics. You see the tricycle going, and they are having trash bags behind it, full loaded of plastic. Just yesterday, in the morning, 2 young guys were moving on the street collecting. So they are collectors. You see them along the street, either HDPEs, PETs. They are more collectors now. So meaning that the tricycle revolution has brought in more collectors. Now, when they recycle, what will the end product be used for? That call for more collaborators to come in. Because if, let's say, France, you are supposed to use a plastic and you are giving paper instead of plastic, giving paper, then it reduces. So from the KPMG, is a recycle substitution. But here, if we use the recycled to produce even plastic chairs, plastic tables, and we are not being encouraged to use that, it becomes a disincentive. So more production is there, but how will someone go and invest and buy equipment to do recycling until, let's say, the demand is there? So there should be a policy to forcefully use some of the recycled products. Then it will be more usable, more demanding, and it will be an issue because, you see, once you produce, you grind, and then somebody comes to purchase, and then it gives you more momentum to go and collect more and then use it up. It recycle. The funds recycle, the investment, the enthusiasm of setting up investment become quite easy. So Zoom Lion like this. We have HDPs that we collect. We use it to produce dustbins. And it is limited to dustbins because when you produce any other product, it will not more enticing. You have more influence of imported virgin material that will compete it. So the recycled material, first, is it a nuisance? Is the plastics a nuisance? Well, we have been informed that we are recycling currently 10% by the KPMG report. How do we go for 85% or 90%? We can have more investment of equipment, but the end product must be forcibly used, either plastic tables, plastic chairs for school children. So instead of we having schools and we construct schools and import plastic tables and chairs from outside, why can't we have a policy that use recyclable products for tables and chairs? Then more collaborators comes in, more investment comes in because there's demand and supply. So until the end product is being situated where it is usable, our talking and our collaborating become issue because when we finish, who is the off-taker? An off-taker must be located. Then the demand comes in. So there will be more collaborators, there will be more investment. For instance, Zoom Lion, I use it as waste bin and supply free because that is what I can produce and that is what the market likes. If I produce any other product, nobody will buy because their source is waste. But in other countries, it's a policy enforced. So my summary of this more collaborators and more waste management, it is not that they are not interested, but there are no demand for off-takers. And that is why nobody will push his money into it. Until we have defined that scope, it becomes quite challenging.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Japon. And you raise a very important question. We need to create a market for recycled materials. The materials that we provided second lives for, there must be markets for them to be used. Otherwise, you can't generate demand. This is very important, and I'll move straight to Coca-Cola because specifically of what Dr. Japon mentioned, because the Coca-Cola currently is leading the technical committee to try to come up with recycled PET. And they've been spearheading this for quite some time now. But I want to find out from you, why is this policy important? I'm sure Dr. Siao has mentioned some of its importance, but coming from you, the private sector, why is this policy very important and how is it going to support the efforts of the country?
Thank you very much. Policy, I believe, is very, very important. And before I even answer that, I want to say to Dr. Siao that, that for us at the Coca-Cola Company, we made a promise to the world at the World Economic Forum in 2018 that by 2030, we're going to incorporate recycled material into 50% of our products. So that ambition, that desire is there to be a great off-taker of these products once it comes in on stream, at least from Coca-Cola Company. Now, policy, we believe, is important because policy really drives the standardization in the market. Also, it would ensure that those safety standards that we need are enforced so that the level playing field has been created for all the players to ensure that the right thing is being done. Globally, it has been private sector that has driven these standards, and Coca-Cola globally has partnered with companies like PepsiCo, Danone, to enforce some standards along those sides so that it can guide regulators in creating the policy that should exist in the market. In Ghana, we have approached the Ghana Standards Authority to work with them to ensure that those standards are created, and would co-create it with them to ensure that that level playing field is created. After that, of course, we would need the MESTI and Co. to help drive those policies to ensure that we move this circular economy forward. So policy, for sure, we are big believers of that, and would use this opportunity to call on all stakeholders to advocate for this so that we can move the circular economy to the advanced stage. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So that answers in part, Dr. Japon, the question that you raised, creating markets for recycled materials. Now I come to the informal sector. Mrs. Ansa, we go. We know that some wastes are deposited at the dump sites. And this is where we have most of our informal collectors going to pick plastics, even though, you know, on what KPMG presented, it is the least preferred option for the roadmap. Why do you think this is the case? What are the implications for the much talked about integration of the informal sector across the plastic value chain?
Thank you very Is it active?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I will beg to take, can I take my nose marks?
Yes. So
please, yeah.
I give you some distance then.
I don't have a good voice today, and putting this on will even worsen it, and that's why I'm asking that. Yes, what you say is actually the obvious. It's always the least. The informal workers are always the least thought about and considered. And so in what we are experiencing now is actually what is the obvious. I think that to go straight to the question and then I'll critique myself, the reasons why it's become even more least preferable is because, one, the government is finding it extremely difficult now to find even the land for dam sites. In Greater Accra, I'm not sure if there is any, because communities, I mean new ones that has to come up, communities who even get to know there is possibility of site, they gang up and they go against it, and it's for obvious reasons. So we understand that. Secondly, the landfills and dump sites that are available are being closed down or re-engineered or used for other things. So typical example is the Kon landfill dump site, which had been closed for about a year or so now, and with no apparent option for the workers who were there. Again, of course, we know that in circular economy discourse, it's very obvious that segregation, as has been spoken about today, is the preferred, particularly starting from the home. And also a lot of global discussions on the health implications of dump sites and communities around the dump site and even workers on the dump site. And so we get that. These are the very obvious reasons why it is the least preferred. We get that. But I think that one of the other points that I need to raise, and is taking it from what Dr. Japon said, and he said, these are waste collectors. The tricycles are doing well. What I didn't hear is where they take it afterwards, before the recycling. Where do they offload is where the discussion is. And that is where the informal workers come in. Secondly, there are the informal workers who are paid from organizations like Zoomlion. But what we are talking about are the informal workers who do this on their own. And they are the worst hit, to the extent that, and I gave a very, very, very typical and a very tough example. In the last month visit of the president to the Pon landfill, it was the most scariest time of their lives, because the option they had now, they were scared that it was going to be closed, because that's the practice. They wake up today, it's closed. Nobody tells them anything. Nobody adds them to any discussion, and we talk about inclusiveness. So we agree to this action roadmap, but we have serious concern on its implications. We agree to the technical table, we are there. I sit on the steering committee, but we are still very, very concerned, because we see the rhetoric, the practice is utmost different. And so, yes, we agree that that's the least preferred. We would look at options, we would look at practical ways where you will see that the segregation that we are talking about from source all the way to the recycled companies are including the informal workers, and they are really getting income. Because for us, the bottom line is livelihood. The bottom line is taking care of their families. And for what we are seeing, they are really scared.
Thank you, Mrs. Ansah. And I mean, as you rightly said, sometimes it becomes very scary for them because they never know when they would lose their daily bread. There are a number of organizations here. I know Nestle has this tricycle project where they are helping people in the informal sector, you know, providing them with the transportation they need so they can collect plastics from the community. And I think if we get a lot more of us coming on board in that direction, it will go a long way to support them of their livelihoods. Now I move to Mr. Sukrop, UNDP. UNDP over the years has supported a number of local initiatives that we know when it comes to plastic waste collection and management and recycling. Now, many actors have communicated that a complete system change will only be possible with a disruptive innovation and locally grown solutions. Are there other opportunities we can look at, scaling up the existing ones or bringing new local actors into the value chain to support this process?
Do you hear me? Okay. I mean, I think there is an answer in your question as well, because again, there have been a lot of local level interventions, and UNDP was one of those who was promoting these innovations and like separate things, supporting big businesses in implementation of their innovations and trying to fund them. I mean, we have conducted about some time ago. We have put about $400,000 into Innovation Challenge, support the different businesses that didn't have opportunity to go for innovation, and to try basically to fund some of their innovations that could then potentially have the scale-up effect. About 14 companies have been funded within this challenge, and while on the localized results have been achieved, but one thing that everyone came basically to agreement to was that all those things were not disruptive. They just stayed as they were, as certain local level basically activities that didn't disrupt the market. And again, I mean, it's while the project results were achieved, and there were several innovations that we were able to fund within the private sector, and most probably those innovations would not even be tested if we didn't fund them, but they didn't have disruptive effect. There was no spillover, so they just stayed as a local initiatives basically that have been there. And of course, 400,000 is not a huge amount, but still, this is the thing. And one thing that we realized alone, we cannot do it. And we cannot do those disruptive changes without the policy changes and without several basically structural changes in approach of the government as well as private sector that would put those things forward. I mean, I'm new here, so my colleagues basically shared several potential disruptive changes that we could do, but I identified few of them, and again, the list is not basically full. I'm just trying to cover few of them, and one of them is of those potential opportunities, and for the huge changes are streamlining and increasing technical expertise and training that would allow to operate the technologies and machinery needed for plastic waste management, product redesign to enable incorporation of materials that enable recycling. And again, there we even have basic problems. I mean, in UNDP, for example, we are now trying to support this plastic bricks that would be for our canteen. And even there, we have very basically problems such as the ability to deliver those bricks, but also for the construction companies to operate basically, because the technology is different. So that's why this technical expertise is quite important and quite needed. And without that, I think we cannot go further. Another one is increased funding for research. I think there is a lot of research worldwide, but there is no research that would localize basically the worldwide things and that would apply to the local companies. That's another quite important thing. Of course, the policy and whole of the government approach and awareness. This is important. I mean, the plastic things are they have to be promoted by the government, and they have to be in policies. Everyone needs to talk about this. But at the same time, this needs to be also combined by the policy changes such as tax incentives, rebates for products from recycled products, and other things. So there is incentives for the private companies basically to go ahead and use the technology. Otherwise, I mean, the recycled technology would not be able to compete with the normal technology, or it would take a while, at least initially. Also, financing the de-risking of plastic waste recycling industry. And there, I mean, look, since it's a new area, the risks are huge. Unless we try to put some mechanisms to risk, it would not be possible, I think, it would not be possible to put enough investments in order to have transformative changes. And that's, I think, the government as well as other actors have to think of how to basically de-risk and together with incentives, trying to de-risk this new sector basically that is emerging. And here I see huge role of the government, because government is the biggest procurement basically body in Ghana. And if government in its government procurement processes would include the requirements to include these plastic-friendly technologies into the buildings and everything, this would have very transformative effect. And the last one, but not the least, of course, is the streamlining and facilitating standardization, licensing, and certification for businesses and recycled products. I think without that, if we don't streamline, because this is new, frequently the bureaucracy may kill those things. So if we streamline all those things and make them easy to go forward, then businesses would be able to do it. So these are just few. Again, I can continue the list because my colleagues provided me twice as many basically proposals as there, but these are the big ones that I think are important to mention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sanjay. Indeed, the list is endless. The number of things that we can do if we really put our minds and our hearts to it are enormous. The list is endless. But to do all this, we need resources. We need the necessary funding. We need the necessary human capital, resources, and all that to be able to achieve this. And that is what is bringing me close to Mr. Sukrop. Mr. Sanjay, sorry. We know that the World Bank has supported Ghana enormously over the years. when it comes to plastic waste management, and particularly end-of-life solutions. The action roadmap, as we have listened to today, by as has been presented to us by KPMG, it's clear that significant investments downstream will be very, very important and will be needed to make sure that implementation of all these actions are carried through. Going forward, what plans does the World Bank have to support sustainable plastic waste management in Ghana?
All right. No, I'll be brief. I know I'm last, and I'm the only barrier between.
You are not the least.
I think the lunch is waiting, so I guess a lot of people are eagerly looking out. So I'll be very, very brief. But thank you for the question. We at the World Bank, as you probably many of you may know, that we provide concessional financing to the government, and we have a private sector arm which provides concessional financing to private sector. However, in view of the need that, where is the large investment in the plastic waste coming from? From the World Bank point of view, we see investments at least 3 stages. First, large-scale investment go into upstream, as many speakers have mentioned, that, if you can't collect, if you can't segregate, you can't manage it. And I think that's where a big investment needs to go into helping change the household behavior, helping make sure that the segregation happens, making sure, I was talking to someone before coming to this meeting, and I've seen several cases where the segregated waste are kept in different bins, but they're collected either in the same truck, so which is mixed, or even when they're collected in the same truck, they go to the same place to be dumped. So it eventually gets mixed, and private sector friends cannot use it if it is mixed. So I think that's upstream investment that we talk about, and we have several urban projects where this is an important component in terms of how do we manage manage their services, including solid waste, and that plastic waste cannot be seen separate from other kind of services. So that upstream investment is needed, and that's where I think the government has a big role, and that's where we've been very, very active. We have a GARID project, $200 million project that we signed to 2019, which is looking at some of those upstream investments. Then there are midstream investment. I think the midstream investment is where if the waste is collected, it needs to be transported. Who's going to be transporting it? Our friends mentioned that, there are probably tricycles now, which is collecting plastic waste. But, can there be collection centers? Can there be a scientific investment where the waste will be easily available for these NGOs and informal recyclers to come and pick up? So a huge investment is needed also in the midstream side. And that is where I think we're also, as part of GARID and as part of several TA projects that we're doing, one of them is what we call is a ProBlue trust fund that the World Bank manages on reducing the marine plastic. That's where we're looking at possible alternatives to reduce, reuse, and recycle options in the midstream side. And the biggest investment often goes in the end of the pipe treatment or the downstream investment, which is mostly about, what do you do what the waste cannot be collected or cannot be recycled, which mixes up with other organic waste and other solid waste, and it goes to often dump sites. So we are trying to help Ghana set up one of the first few scientifically designed landfill sites, facilities. And at the landfill facilities, it's not only about designing it in a way that it can capture all the waste scientifically without contaminating the neighborhood groundwater or the soil, but also about setting up recycling center. Can the recycling, at last opportunity to recycle, can be processed at the landfill facility as well? So I think we are engaged in several ways, but I know we are not the only partner, and we don't think this is a sector where pure public sector investment can be justified. This is a tremendous sector where public sector combined with private sector can leverage to find better results. And I see tremendous opportunity to make money. It can be made commercially viable. So we see we can work very closely, and the government can work very closely with the private sector to make it happen. So with that, let me stop here, but I'd be happy to take more questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Sanjay. I am excited about the scientifically designed recycling centers. What we should be working as an NPAP, as a technical committee, is to ensure that those in the informal sectors that we worry about, that Mrs. Ansa talked about, get the opportunity, to benefit from these recycling centers. On this note, I will open the floor and give you the opportunity to ask few questions. Again, we are not doing too well on time. So very few questions, and I'm sure our panelists will still be around after the event to interact further with you to clarify your concerns. So the first hand up was on this side. We will have him, and then we'll have this table. And then we'll take the next set, and then that will be it.
Thank you very much.
And please let us know who you're directing your question to.
Thank you very much. My name is Nadim Ghanem, and I'm the CEO of MiniPlast. We are a recycling and manufacturing company. I will direct my question, to the chairman of JOSPONG and also the World Bank representative. I agree with what the chairman was saying about the fact that what do we do with that who are the off-takers? Now, we at our plastic manufacturing, we do use big part, 50% of our manufacturing now is made out of recycled plastics. And every time we increase more, and we are happy to do this. We are lucky this time because the situation globally of shipments and the cost of raw material has gone so high that customers have started to accept the fact of using recycled. But what are the expectations of really off-takers when prices will settle back and go back where they were? Because this is one of the major things. So it's the idea and how customers and people will accept this. In Europe, sometimes recycled products are more expensive. Let's say the products out of recycled material are more expensive than the virgin ones. In the market here in the area, it's always associated with a low-end product. And when the raw material prices will go back and shipments will go back to where they used to be, we will be back to the same problem, where recycled is too expensive for being a recycled material. Thank you.
Thank you. So it was more of a comment?
Well, it was more of a question of what is the World Bank, or what are they going to invest in the communication and the marketing of explaining to the people. So it's not just about making the plants and getting all that. It's about how do we communicate and how do we let the people, because they are the off-takers, accept that. How do we let the industrialists accept also recycled material? How do we let paint companies take a heavier bucket that will be made out of recycled material at the same price of a virgin bucket? So this is going to be the challenge in the near future.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Siang, please.
I wanted to, it is quite good. As he just said that recyclable materials are very expensive. It's quite true. But you see, it depends upon the level of the plastic. If it is HDPE or PP or PET, depending upon the product you take. So you take the HDPE, perhaps, but the other fragment of the plastics are not being collected. And especially the trash bags, they are many, and they are the sachet waters and the other things they are. Now, the motivation is that you take the refined product. So from the process of the collector, who motivates the collector to collect it? That is where the gaps comes in. So the collectors are not many because they are not motivated, because the price that is being purchased from them is low. So they go and take the HDPE and leave the smaller or PETs. Now, when it comes in, then the refined products or the recycles, we buy it at a very good price. But between the collector and the bag buy center, that is where the motivation comes. Because if the motivation is quite incentive, of which it doesn't depend upon only the private sector, but let's say government incentives are more, there will be more collectors of the plastics than the they say the non-collectors of it, so that it becomes more motivational. I would humbly like to just say that I think Mrs. Ansam made the mention of that the informal sector are the least people, and correctly, they are not being taken care of well, which I admit. That the position of how their works are, they are fragmented, not too much organized like a cooperative or a company. So they are informal people picking up. So their way of doing things are not in an organized way. That is why they are not more of a force to reckon with. But I humbly want to just place on the record that there are more landfill site and treatment site than 5 years ago. As we speak now, Adepa landfill is about 200-acre land. There's also Agomeda, 200-acre land. Accra Compost is about 100-acre land. So for past 5-10 years, we have more disposal waste issues than, let's say, facilities than before. And there are more transfer stations that are going to be built, as Garrett World Bank director have just said, and other things. So the system has more be improved. But the informal sectors, they are quick discharge. Once they pick, they have to discharge. And so because of that coordination that doesn't come in, they just have to find a place and be discharging. And that is where the challenges come. But there are more treatment sites than before. And I think these treatment sites are all made available for dumping. But just a little, please, just permit me, that the segregation at source, technology has advanced in such a way that there's a treatment plant. If you can show the picture, I'll be very glad. There is a treatment plant that when you dump all the waste into it, it's segregated by itself. So there are countries that are not using segregation at source. Because you see, in Japan, they have 6 different kinds of plastics that they segregate. So in Japan, you might have 4 or 6 bins. Now, each car have to come to the house 6 times because it picks one resource and go. Another car comes to pick the other resource. So they have even developed a compactor that have 2 sources. But at least it can go 2 or 3. Now, Ghana, our culture, if that's the plant, our culture has not gotten even to 1 dustbin disposing. Then you add 2 or 3. So this plant comes and take all the refuse and segregate it. It's like a quarry machine. You put 1 boulder into it, it gives you 3/4, ½ inch, and then even quarry dust. So it goes into it and segregate the compost like this, comes in, gets the plastics, get everything out. I think this is more convenient for our culture because to even have plastic and metal, what about the iron? What about the textile? So you might have 6 at a time. But this one, once you get even confused and you get into it, it goes. And so technology, most countries are going in development like this. Brazil and other countries are going into it that once you bring the waste, if you even forget and you just mix the plastics with the organic, once you insert into it, it segregates by itself and it saves time and it brings convenience.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Sian. I'll allow Mrs. Ansah to add, just 1 minute, add a response.
Yeah.
To what Dr. has.
Quick one. So I think I wanted to raise the issue of the sequencing and also the informal sector, as he mentioned. The issue that we realize is that as much as countries are growing, there's technology and everything, we need to look at where we are talking about. This is this country, and where are we? And what can we do to resolve the issue? If we bring in technology that is way beyond our heads, which is most of the time what we see, then this is what we find. So we have technology that cannot be implemented on the ground, because on the ground, what is there, it's very different from the solutions that we're getting across the world. In India, they have come in with integration methodologies and approaches that has really integrated informal workers. There's cooperatives, there's training that you can give them, there's possible re-engineering them, there's thinking of them, and then they can be part of the value chain that we're talking about. And for me, that is what is important.
Thank you. Mr. Sanjay.
Thank you. No, I think I'm just going to build on my sister Dorcas, and I 100% agree that, you know, if you cut out the informal recyclers, no system will function. And I think it is very, very important to have a system where they can be formalized and their life can be safer, healthier, and they should make money. It's a business with, but going back to our friend's question also where, you know, where he's saying that what about if the input prices change, her profit margins change? And, you know, plastic recycling business is like any other business. You have imported material, the duties change, the prices change, and the profitability changes. And for that, I do see there is a policy matter. So when we talk about policy for recycling, it should take into account those concerns of possible fluctuation in import of the recyclable material. And also, I think gentlemen mentioned about, is there a product market? Is there enough market for recyclable plastic products? And the World Bank, and I come from India, fortunately, and you know, at the World Bank has financed 300 kilometers of road using waste plastic to mix in the bitumen. And that improves the quality of the road so that the water doesn't go down. It increases the life of the, and it uses huge volume of waste. So it is not that the waste, if you have the right kind of tools available, it is not that the waste will disappear from this country, but you will actually import waste from others and you will make money. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think let's give others the opportunity as well.
Just one thing.
Please. Kindly allow, you know, someone else to come in and then we can have another session after. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
I'm Obin Poku from the Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources. I think I was going to react to Dorcas' issues that she raised with respect to the informal sector and then the infrastructure developments. But with the response from Dr. Japan, I think I won't go further. But the issue is with respect to the way they also, I mean the informal sector, they come into the system. As Dr. Japan came, they are supposed to register with either the district assembly or the expert group, which they don't do that. But gradually, we've been meeting them. The expert group has also been meeting them to ensure that we put them together so that we also regulate their mode of operation. Besides that, their health issues are also concerned to the ministry as well. So we are taking care of some of these things. With respect to the infrastructure development, the ministry is also collaborating with the private sector in terms of that. And as we are speaking, the ministry has acquired a number of pieces of land so that we can construct integrated waste treatment plants, which will take care of some of these issues. So there's still hope. There's still hope. As I was coming this morning from the ministries, I was trying to count the number of plastics that I would see from left and right. And there was every indication that the city or our streets are better than previously. So I want to take this opportunity also to congratulate the stakeholders for the good work that they are doing. Nana is here. Nana, we will still appeal to you that when we come to your regions and districts and we want pieces of land for waste treatment facilities. Can you help us to get the land? Because at the end of the day, we all generate waste. At the end of the day, we all generate waste. Not that the community members are not ready to receive us. They are ready. We went to Ghana West, and the people are happy to have us in their community. It depends upon our social responsibility that we have to render to them. So I want to take this opportunity to assure everybody that we are on course. As Dr. Japon said, the country is on course. All is not lost. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, gentleman from the Ministry of Sanitation, Chief Director from the Ministry of Sanitation. We'll take our last question, last but one question. After this, we'll have another, and then the rest we'll have them after the event.
Thank you. Please, my name is Lydia Banfo, Informal Waste Workers. I'm the chairperson.
Thank you, Madam. Welcome.
Thank you. Please, I want to address some issue here. What Dr. Japon said, he is ESPA president, our boss. The informal sector, we are organized. We are over 2,800, those who are registered. And we have those who are not registered. In Greater Accra, let me say it's in national, both Ashanti region, Central region, and other regions as well. We are more than 5,000. But the registered one that has a data is 2,800. Being a cooperative, that's the reason why 2017, University of Cape Coast did a research. So through that research, AMA gave us a permit to work. Before that, we were working with the municipal assemblies. Some of them gave us a sticker. Before they will give you a sticker, means that they permit you to work within their jurisdiction. So already, we have even recognized by some of the municipal assembly when we introduce ourselves to them. Informal waste sectors joined ESPA 2016. When we organize ourselves, we see that there's an organization who talks for former waste workers. So we decided to join so that in our behalf, they can talk to the former ones to allow us to work under their contract basis. Now we are looking a way forward that government will help us, supporting us, so that we can even get those who are not registered to register. And at the same time, during the AMA recognition, we get an office through them. From there, Footprint Africa also joined, and they also support us in collaboration with AMA. They did a lot of training for some of our members. Now, some of them got lances through those training. So a way forward, we are looking for the formal sector and government to recognize us well, supporting us, some of the NGOs who are also interested about informal waste workers in Ghana to help us to work and get all those people on board. Because if we leave them, we don't know what will happen to the system. And coming to the recycling sector, we have a lot of product that we get it out of the waste. Not the ADP alone, PP alone. We have LGP, PPE, and other materials that we got it. E-waste is a part, metal is part. And those things, we are looking forward that we can get enough industrials so that when we pick it, we can get someone to sell to. That's why we are crying for the buy-buy center and the mini transfer station so that the informal waste workers who go and take the waste will not travel far away to dispose or offload. Because some of these people are not the one even disposing their waste along the roadside. We have junkers, we have those who are taking it from some places and go and dump it there. So please, we beg of the panelists that when we are talking, we should say something good for the informal sector.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I think she raises a very important concern. Mrs. Bediako, you want to address? You're signaling me for something. You have a minute each to wrap up. So, and that's strictly 1 minute so that we don't exceed our time. Okay, so the last, and then we are done. This is the last one.
Hello, my name is Hilda. I work with Asase Foundation. Waste segregation is a cultural problem in our country. Schools are institutions of change. Children are agents of change. And I want to know from the ministry what collaborative efforts are being put in place to work with Ghana Education Service, Ministry of Education, to try to, we are a lost cause. The adults in the population, I think we can be dealt with, but I think ours is enforcement. But changing the next generation is to tackle the children from schools. And I want to know what is in place to work with Ministry of Education and Ghana Education Service to try to address the issues. Thank you.
Thank you. This is Bediako. Yeah. It works.
Thank you very much for that question. In the first place, one, the Ministry of Environment, Science, Technology, and Innovation, as you know, is a policy directive ministry. And so in collaboration with Ministry of Education, Ministry of Local Government, Rural Development and Decentralization, and Ministry of Water and Sanitation, these ministries have come together to form a task force or a technical working group that is looking at policy in that direction. Through our Environmental Protection Agency, which is the implementing agency, we are collaborating with Ministry of Education on a number of issues that includes waste management, climate change, pollution, and a whole lot of things, some of which the EPA has even developed reading materials and other things for the schools. So there are plans in place, and work is ongoing so far as the change of behavior and attitude in schools are concerned. Recently, we mounted the proposal, requested for proposal from some highly perceived, some highly polluted municipalities. And one of the things that we requested from them to demonstrate how they are going to sustain whatever they are doing is their collaboration in terms of education with the Ministry of Education, traditional authorities, religious bodies, market women, and all that. So it's one area that we really see that is important. And so the discussion through these three ministers are ongoing. And it's part of the things that very soon, when we've launched a lot of the programs that the plastic policy seeks to do, a lot of you will come on board. But having taken the platform, let me just add that my initial contribution was expanding the platform and the discussion. And so most of you who have spoken here are part of those that we'll be reaching out to, because from the keynote address, we realized that we cannot do without plastics. There's no way any of us can continue to live successfully without plastic in one way or the other. But how do we make it in such a way that it does not become an eyesore, a nuisance, and everything to all of us? So we need all of you on board. And those are some of the things that I'll say at the concluding mass. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll give the opportunity to Mr. Sanjay to give us his 1 minute wrap-up. 1 minute strictly.
All right, since I have only 1 minute, I'd just like to thank you all for being here and just waiting for a lunch. But just 2 quick points in just 1 minute. What's the most important takeaway from this gathering today? For me, I think there are 2. One is that this plastic waste is not a government problem, not a private, it's everybody's problem. So multi-stakeholder engagement, making sure everyone is involved, from informal sector to investor to private sector is very important, and government has a role to play that coordination role, and we'll be very happy to partner with that. The second part is that this is not viable on its own. Someone will have to make it viable. So do not trust that the private sector will solve your problem, and do not trust that the government can solve this problem. So again, a partnership in financing, partnership in monitoring the results, showing the results on the ground. I think that would be 2 important messages. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Boydwan, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. What I would like to say, and I would want to speak on behalf of ourselves, Coca-Cola and industry, is to say that we do acknowledge that this is a major problem. However, we have the great commitment to work with industry and all the other stakeholders that have gathered here to solve this challenge. We believe that policy would be very, very crucial in helping shape the course of improving the circular economy we are prescribed to have in Ghana. That said, we'll continue to engage the various stakeholders to ensure that the right thing is done, and also continue to drive our ambition of satisfying and refreshing the world and making a difference in this economy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sian Ejafon.
Okay. My is first of all to thank the Minister of Environment, Science and Technology, and then the organizers for this forum. Congratulations for this wonderful forum. My humble submission is that we are on course. It is better than before that we have started. Let's all focus. Let us stay more focused and then organize ourselves. What I'm pleading and appealing is that there are so many acts, so many regulations which are not being implemented. And how more will this talks going on? I think that we started from 2019. There have been discussion, steering committee, most of the things. Let's start practicalizing some of the things so that it can yield fruits, so that we can benefit of more discussions. So most of the policies, most of the actions, most of the things, I think the KPMG report have outlined most of the things. Let's start putting them into actionable issues so that we can see the reality of most of these forums. That is all what I humbly want to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sukro.
Just one point that I think we kind of missed in all the discussions is the information and information sharing, basically. That is quite important. I think in that sense, what is the waste map has been developed and it's now gone live. And it already provides a lot of information on waste sites and for potential basically users to collect and be able to action on. At the same time, I think what is important is that this map becomes more sustainable, yes, that it's not one-off thing, and that enough resources, both human and financial resources, are basically invested into proper research, update of the system, and that it's actually stays relevant for a while. Because it's quite important, basically, for all actors to have most up-to-date information and the information on which they can act on further. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Ansah.
So again, thank you, everybody, for this opportunity. I think that I want to state that the workers are not adverse to growth or even technological advancement. What they are asking for is operate from the do no harm principle. make sure, as the guidelines stipulates, provide alternative livelihoods, provide safeguards to the workers whom any policy that the government brings will affect their income, will affect their work. That's all they're saying. Provide the alternative means for their livelihoods, and they will be very happy to work with it.
Thank you. Thank you very much, our panel members, for doing justice to the topics and to the questions that were given to you to answer today. And I think, as Mr. Sanjay said, the take-home message is that it is not one man's problem. It is every sector's problem, every individual's problem. And if we want to make significant impact, will require that everyone plays a role. We cannot leave it in the hands of government alone. Yes, government has to be involved, provide strategic direction, but we all need to play our part in terms of expanding the discussion and getting more people to come on board, executing practical actions on the ground to be sure that they are in line with the recommendations of the action roadmap, getting the technical know-how, getting the technology, and making sure that we are involving everyone, including those in the private sector, that they are not deprived in any way, including also those in the informal sector, because it is very important. They are the ones on the ground. They are the ones picking the plastics, and they need our support to ensure that we get this done in the proper way. So I would like to thank my panel members, Dr. Sianwe Japon, Mrs. Ansa, Mrs. Bediakon, Mr. Sukrop, Mr. Sanjay, and Mr. Boedu Asa. Thank you all very much. You may kindly resume your seat. So we are bringing our program to an end. And before we depart from here and before we give you the closing remarks and then depart, I have some brief announcements to make. After the closing remarks, we will get the opportunity to take some pictures. I'll take you through the number of people that are supposed to be here when the time is up to do that. We also have pledge forms at the back. Please, we will bring them in here so that as we take the pictures, you just sign for us to indicate that you participated in the event, that you are committed to ensuring and to supporting the implementation of the action roadmaps. There are copies of the action roadmaps at the back, so please pick copies as you go. And there's also packed lunch available for everyone. So please don't leave immediately after the closing remarks. Take some pictures with us. These are memorable pictures that we will have to show that we were part of the process. So without much ado, I will invite Mr. Georgios Badaro, the co-chair of the Ghana NPAP and the managing director of Nestle Ghana Limited, to give us the closing remarks. Please, let's welcome him with a round of applause.
Thank you. Wow. Minister of Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation and Chair of the Ghana NPAP Steering Board, Dr. Kwaku Afriyie, represented by Mrs. Cynthia Bediako. Deputy Minister of Fisheries and Aquaculture in MP4 Drobo constituency, Honorable Moses Anim. Members of the Steering Board and the Technical Committee of the Ghana NPAP, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It's really my pleasure to give closing remarks to mark the end of the launch of the National Plastic Action Roadmap for Ghana. I'm particularly excited to see the diverse mix of sectors, namely government, ministries and agencies, the private sector, industry players, development partners, international organizations, financial institutions, NGOs, and civil society, all present here today. This is a demonstration of a collective willingness to establish a circular plastic economy, or circular economy for plastics in Ghana. I applaud the leadership of the government of Ghana and the Global Plastic Action Partnership over the years, which has resulted in the work that you see in your hands today. I appreciate the efforts of the Ghana NPAP Steering Board, technical committees, consultants, expert panel, task forces, for their contribution. And, you know, they had been really very key to the development of the roadmap, and this partnership will need to continue with their leadership, with their expertise, to support now what is the implementation of the plans, the recommendations, and the roadmap. I commend the effort of the Ghana NPAP Secretariat for convening diverse mix of stakeholders, professionally guiding the conversation, and managing the events. The Ghana NPAP is clearly leading the way to developing a renowned model worth emulating by our neighbors. Ladies and gentlemen, I assure you of my continuous support, and I believe honorable ministers are equally committed to this course, and we will continue to provide guidance and support. I thank you for the participation in this milestone meeting today, and thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Georgios Badarus. So before we leave, we will have the group pictures up here. And I would like, before we do that, to thank very much the Honorable Deputy Minister of Fisheries and Aquaculture, Mr. Moses Enim, for staying with us throughout the event. We are very grateful. Thank you to Mrs. Cynthia Bediakun for standing in for the Minister of MESTI, to all our resource persons, to the panel members, to our development partners, Mr. Sanjay, Mr. Bedu Asa. We thank Mrs. Dokasansa, Mr. Sukrop, Mr. Xiao Ejapong, and everyone who has participated in this event, all of you here present who have sat through till the end of the program. We are very, very grateful. We have the action roadmap ready. The time is now. Action all the way. If we don't do this, we will not be able to rid our communities and our water bodies of plastics. And we need all hands on deck and all the support you can give us. Thank you very much once again. Honorable Minister, Deputy Minister of Fisheries and Aquaculture, I will need you up here. We have already taken one with the steering board, so we will have one with the heads of institutions. Nana, can you kindly please join us up here? And then also would like to have Mr. Claire Mugoji from the NPAP Secretariat kindly join us up here. The Chief Director of Ministry of Sanitation kindly join us up here. So we'll take the first one with institutions and agencies. So we have all managing directors here present, all CEOs here present. Kindly join us up here on stage. I don't know if we have any more of them around. Otherwise, we'll have the technical committee members of the Ghana NPAP. Technical committee members of the Ghana NPAP, please join us up here. Technical Committee of the Ghana NPAP. Debbie and Eric, we are expecting you up here also. Technical Committee members. Please, let's be snappy. So let's respect the social distancing protocol. Please join us up here. Civil society organizations. Civil society organizations, if you are here, please join us. Sorry. This will be followed by development partners. So, development partners will have you after this. KPMG and academia, please join us up here. Yes, KPMG, please hurry up. We are out of time. And then we'll have our development partners after this. Sorry. I'm sorry. That is not it. Thank you very much. So the last is the development partners, if they are here. Development partners, please be snappy. Thank you very much. We are done. Thank you so much for coming. So thank you all very much. We'll be calling on each of you to support in the process. See you all another time. Bye.